Pokemon. Adventure on Treasure Island. Chapter 1. Out Shopping. It was another beautiful, sunny day in the Alola region. Ash and Pikachu were enjoying their time on the tropical island of Mele, which was covered in lush forests and golden beaches. There were all kinds of things to do and so many new Pokemon to meet. Which was why our heroes were spending the day at the mall? What's that? Ash asked his friends from the Pokemon school. Are they sweets? Rotom Dex was always ready with an answer. The device knew nearly everything about Pokemon. It's a kind of Pokemon food called poke beans, Rotom Dex explained. The poke beans came in all sizes and colors. Look, Steenie, exclaimed Mallow, one of Ash's classmates. Steenie likes these floral-patterned poke beans. Mallow's partner, Steenie, had recently evolved from Bounsweet. The rest of Ash's classmates were there with their Pokemon, too, Lana, Sophocles, and Kiawe. Lily had also joined them with her newly hatched Pokemon, Snowy. Snowy, with its bright blue eyes and thick, wavy white tail, was an Alolan Vulpix. This Pikachu-colored one might be good, Ash said, picking up a mustard yellow poke bean. What do you think, buddy? Pika, Pika. Pikachu approved of its best friend's choice. While it was fun shopping for tasty treats, Ash wasn't so sure he wanted to join Mallow, Lana and Lily when they went to another shop in search of jewelry and other accessories. The jewelry is made out of heart scales that wash up on the beach. And Corsola branches, Mallow explained. Everything is amazing and completely natural. Kiawe, Sophocles and Rotom Dex all thought of good excuses to head home, but Lana, Lily and Mallow convinced Ash and Pikachu to come with them. Ash wasn't interested in the items inside the shop, but outside was another story. He walked out the back door and onto a long balcony. It overlooked the ocean, which was a particularly bright blue that day with calm waves. Beautiful, isn't it? Came a voice from behind Ash. When Ash turned around, he saw the manager of the shop. It's wonderful to be able to look at the ocean while I'm at work, she said. Can you make out that little island over there? You bet. Ash replied, eyeing the little island. He could see a sandy beach and tall palm trees. That's known as Treasure Island, the shop manager explained. I go there sometimes to find materials to make my jewelry. But I really do it for fun, because I get to see a lot of wild Pokemon. Ash's jaw dropped. The wild Pokemon were one of the best parts of the Alola region. Ash's goal was to become a Pokemon master, and he had learned a great deal since coming to the tropical islands. Observing Pokemon in nature was fascinating. I want to go to Treasure Island, too, Ash declared. He looked at his partner. What do you say? Pika, Pika. As usual, Pikachu agreed with its trainer. You're welcome to borrow my kayak if you'd like, the manager said. Kayak? Really? Ash could hardly believe his good luck. Of course, the manager responded. I'll lend it to you as my little gift. After a quick goodbye to Lana, Lily and Mallow, Ash and Pikachu set off across the bay. Each thrust of the paddle propelled them closer to the small island on the horizon. Ocean to the right, ocean to the left, Ash said, pausing to take a deep breath of salty sea air. Ocean everywhere. Pikachu breathed in, too. The sky's almost as blue as the ocean. Ash listened to the gentle waves on the side of the thin boat. It almost feels like we're the only ones on the planet. Weird, but awesome. After a peaceful moment, Ash was ready for action again. We're almost there. Let's step on it. Using all his strength, he tugged the paddle through the water, one side and then the other. Water-type Pokemon rested on the rocks, taking in the sun. Others swam in schools around the kayak. Soon, the boat's pointed bow ran into the soft, wet sand at the edge of the beach. Ash jumped out and pulled the boat from the water. We made it, he yelled to Pikachu. They'd reached Treasure Island. Chapter 2. Treasure Island. Ash and Pikachu dashed down the beach. They couldn't wait to explore. The trainer and his best pal were so excited, they nearly ran into a pack of crabrawler. What's going on? Ash mumbled, peeking over a pile of rocks at the Pokemon. The fighting-type Pokemon were crowded around two crabrawler that were battling. One raised its mighty claw and used Iron Fist. The other flew through the air and skidded across the hot sand. I think they're having a boxing match, Ash told Pikachu. He popped his head over the rocks and called to the Pokemon. That was an amazing punch. Mind if we hang out and watch? The group of Pokemon turned around and stared at Ash and Pikachu. Then they screeched in surprise and scurried off in the other direction. Aw, man! Ash exclaimed. Were all the wild Pokemon on Treasure Island so shy? Soon, Ash and Pikachu were distracted by another Pokemon, a Cutiefly. The tiny bug and fairy-type Pokemon buzzed around Pikachu's head and landed on Gidet's nose. Hey, maybe it thinks you're a flower, Ash said with a laugh. When the Cutiefly whizzed away, Ash wanted to follow it. The Pokemon led them down a path with tall, leafy trees on both sides. The path opened to a gigantic meadow. Hundreds of the small, winged Pokemon flitted around a field of colorful wildflowers. Ash and Pikachu ran into the meadow with their arms wide. A small flock of Cutiefly placed a flower necklace over Ash's head. How cool is this? Ash exclaimed. It's just like paradise. Pikachu! Ash's companion was just as delighted as he was. The beauty of nature was everywhere. A line of Alolan Exeggutor walked along a trail through the flowery field. The long-necked coconut Pokemon chanted in tune as they marched together. Exeggutor, Exeggutor, Exeggutor. Ash couldn't help but join in. He tagged along at the end of the Exeggutor line, lifting his knees high with each step. Pikachu was perched on his head. Ash grabbed a leafy twig and waved it in the air as he repeated the chant with the grass and dragon-type Pokemon. They didn't seem to notice him until Ash started to sing off-key. Exeggutor, he belted with a high, squeaky pitch. At once, all the Exeggutor turned to Ash. They thrust their long necks at him. Each neck had 3 coconut-shaped heads at the top. None of the heads were happy. They scowled and bared their pointy fangs. Ash shrunk away a little. Exeggutor, he sang nervously, hoping to find the right notes. The lead Exeggutor nodded. It seemed to accept Ash's improved melody. When it turned around and started walking again, the other Exeggutor followed. So did Ash. They ended up at a crystal-clear watering hole. The Exeggutor all dumped their heads into the water, taking in big gulps. Ash and Pikachu did the same. They were thirsty. Then the giant Pokemon stepped into the water and started to wash off, making playful fountains with their many mouths. Ash decided to swim, too. The Exeggutor let Ash and Pikachu climb their necks, and then the giant Pokemon would toss them into the water. What could be more fun than a Pokemon water park? After a while, all the executor left the watering hole. Thank you, executor, Ash called as they ambled away. Next, Ash and Pikachu headed to the beach to dry off. There they ate some poke beans, talked about the wonders of the Alola Islands, and dozed off in the heat of the sun. The two friends napped peacefully for a while. They were tired from the exercise and the sun's strong rays. When they woke up, they were not alone. Ash and Pikachu were surrounded by purple and silver Pokemon with shells on their backs and long, spiky tails. The Pokemon were chatting and giving off a constant hum. Oh, man, Ash murmured. What are they, anyway? The Pokemon kept humming as they moved in closer, crowding close to Ash and Pikachu. What do they want with us? Ash cried. He jumped up on a log. Pikachu leaped up and clung to Ash. Nervous sweat rolled down their faces. No. Then one of the creepy crawly Pokemon chomped down on Ash's foot. Hey! Ash screeched, shaking his leg. Several of the other Pokemon dived face first into Ash's backpack. One came out with the bag of poke beans clenched in its jaws. Hey, that's ours! Ash yelled. It was the only food he and Pikachu had. The swarm of Pokemon scrambled down the beach. Pikachu took off after them. The Pokemon neared the edge of the rocky shore. They were all going to dive off a cliff into the ocean, but Pikachu tackled the one with the bag of poke beans. The two Pokemon rolled toward the edge of the ocean, but Pikachu snatched the bag back just in time. Way to go! Ash cheered. Pikachu hopped up on his shoulder, and the two watched as the unknown, spiky-tailed Pokemon swam away. Pika, Pika, Pikachu murmured in Ash's ear. I've never seen those Pokemon either, Ash admitted. He took a deep breath of the ocean air and noticed that the sun had gotten much lower in the sky. We'd better head back home. They still had a long trip ahead of them. Chapter 3. Pokemon Rescue. Before Ash and Pikachu could return to the kayak, they heard an unusual sound. It sounded like someone, or something, was in trouble. What's that noise? Where's it coming from? Ash asked. Pika? Pikachu's ears drooped with concern. Pikachu? Ash wandered around the beach, listening closely. Pikachu stayed perched on his shoulder, its ears at attention. But they could not work out where the sound was coming from. On one side of them was the ocean, on the other was a tall cliff. In the middle was a sandy beach. They looked everywhere, but there was nothing that could be making the bubbling, squeaking, snuffling sound. Pikachu scampered up a ledge of rocks. Pika, Pika! It crept into a crevice in the cliff wall. Pikachu sniffed. Pika! It wanted Ash to look, too. In there? Ash asked. Yeah, you're right. I hear something in there. But when Ash ducked down to look in the bottom of the crevice, he couldn't see a thing. It was dark and the crevice seemed very deep. He shuffled closer and squinted, trying to see into the darkness. Pikachu had its head buried in the crevice, too. It pushed and wiggled, trying to force its way inside. Hey, I remember that Pokemon, Ash said, finally catching a glimpse of purple and silver. It was one of the Pokemon with the plated shells they'd seen earlier on the beach. It probably got lost and now it's stuck and can't get out. Ash stepped away. The cliff in front of him was almost a solid wall of rock that went straight up. I wonder how the Pokemon got in there. Ash scowled, tilting his head back. We've got to get it out, so I guess I have to climb that. Ash turned his hat around, found foothold and started climbing. He searched with his hands for places to grab on and pull himself up. He made it almost halfway up the cliff, but then he lost hold and fell on his back. Ouch! Ash shook himself off and started climbing again, even more determined. Oh, yeah? You can't beat me, he yelled at the cliff. He peeked in the crevice again. I promise, I'll get you out of there, so don't you worry. Pikachu was not so sure. As Ash tried to climb the wall once more, his partner ran off down the beach. Hey, Pikachu! Where are you going? Ash called, but Pikachu kept running further down the beach. Pika, 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 it called. Ash made it about as far as before, but then he fell flat again. His arms and legs were covered with scratches. His back pounded with pain. It wasn't long before he heard a familiar chant. Executor, Executor. Pikachu! Pikachu cheered with excitement. Executor? Ash wondered aloud as he watched the long-necked Pokemon approach. Pikachu was holding on tight on top of one of Executor's heads. But, Pikachu? Why? Ash asked, feeling confused. What's going on? As Executor came closer, Ash began to understand Pikachu's plan. Executor was so tall that its heads reached the top of the cliff. I see, Ash finally admitted. Great idea! You're a genius, Pikachu. Here's the deal, Ash told Executor. There's a Pokemon stuck inside that rock. Give me a lift, okay? Ash grabbed onto the Pokemon's neck and shimmied up. Executor easily lifted him and Pikachu from the beach level to the top of the rock wall that overlooked the ocean. All right! Ash yelled, hopping off. Thanks, Executor. Ash rushed over to the cliff's edge. There, he saw an opening to a cave-like area below. He could just make out the trapped Pokemon in the shadows. I'm coming down, he called out. You just relax, okay? Ash slipped between the two walls of rock, trying to lower himself slowly. Pikachu sat on his shoulder and held on with all its might. When Ash got to the place where the cave ceiling opened up, he had to leap into the sand. It was a long drop and he landed with a loud thud. The trapped Pokemon skittered away with a squeal. It ran headfirst into some rocks. It kept butting its head against them. I know, Ash said in a kind voice. He suspected the Pokemon was afraid. It's scary, but you've got to stay calm. When he stepped toward the Pokemon, it scrambled away. What do you know? Ash said, examining where the Pokemon had been hitting its head. A large rock blocked a crack in the cave wall. So this is how you got in. But the rock is in the way now and you can't get out. A loose pebble fell from above. You're lucky you didn't get squished. Don't worry. Ash bent down and pulled the rock with all his might, but he couldn't move it. He tried again, but the rock didn't budge. Hey, Pikachu! Help me out, he said. Pikachu bounded over to him. Use your iron tail on that rock. Ash called. Pika, Pika. Pikachu leaped in the air, its tail glowing with power. With a powerful swing of its zigzag tail, Pikachu attacked. The rock exploded into a cloud of powdery dust. Man, that was great! Ash exclaimed. Now you can get out of here, he told the trapped Pokemon. Executor! Even the Alolan Executor sounded happy when it looked in the new, much bigger entrance to the cave. Okay, you can go, Ash said. I'm sure your friends are worried about you. They all walked out of the cave and down the beach toward the ocean. Look at that, Ash said, pointing to a group of Pokemon floating on the surface of the water. They're your friends, right? The Pokemon dashed into the water, but then turned around and waddled back out. It made a grateful, cooing sound. Yeah? Ash asked. The Pokemon turned around and paddled its way to its friends. Bye. Take care, Ash called. After they had swum out of eyesight, another Pokemon caught Ash's eye. This one was flying through the air in graceful swoops. Huh? A Pokemon? Ash did not recognize this Pokemon either. He did, however, notice that it had black markings. Similar to Tapu Koko. Ash's jaw dropped in wonder. As the Pokemon swirled through the sky, a colorful glitter seemed to sparkle all around it. Some of the glitter rained down on Ash, disappearing as soon as it touched him. Ash looked down at his arms. The scratches, but how? As the glitter touched his skin, all his cuts and scrapes disappeared. They're all gone. That was great. Thanks so much. He and Pikachu waved as the magical Pokemon flew out of sight. It was the end of another amazing adventure for our heroes, but they still needed to get back to Melee Island in the kayak. This time, they would be paddling under the stars. And who knew what excitement tomorrow might bring? Chapter 4. Hello, Litten. Back at Professor Kukui's bungalow, Ash told his teacher all the details about the day on Treasure Island. He mentioned the beautiful meadow with all the tiny, flying Pokemon. He laughed as he retold the story of his dip in the swimming hole with the Executor. But Professor Kukui was especially interested in one of Ash's stories, the one about the Pokemon he saw in the sky after he'd helped the trapped Pokemon escape. It was probably Tapu Lele, the professor said. Tapu Lele? Ash repeated. Whoa. Even the Pokemon's name sounded cool. Does the name mean it's Tapu Koko's friend? Correct, answered Professor Kukui. Meeting it is exceptionally rare. And the Pokemon you helped is most likely a Vimpod. Wow, Ash responded. Vimpod? He was excited to learn more about new Pokemon. He turned to Rotom Dex. Will you check them out for me? It's my pleasure, answered Rotom Dex. Tapu Lele. The land spirit Pokemon. A psychic and fairy-type Pokemon. No Tapu Lele playfully flutters around while scattering its mysteriously glowing scales. Rotom Dex paused, floating in the air near Ash. It is said whoever touches its scales is instantly healed. Ash held out his arms and examined them again. That's why my scratches are gone, he told the others. Next, Rotom Dex switched screens. Vimpod, it said. The turn-tail Pokemon. A bug and water-type Pokemon. From beaches to seabeds, Vimpod live in all kinds of places. They eat anything, even if it's rotten. They're nature's vacuum cleaners. Ash nodded, taking it all in. You see, Tapu Lele is the island guardian of Akala Island. And meeting it was a stroke of luck, said Professor Kukui. Yeah, I want to see it again. Think I can? Ash asked. If your luck holds out, his professor answered honestly. Nah, I don't need luck. No way. I'll see it again. We'll see it again. Ash looked around at his friends. He felt very confident. He wanted to share his excitement with everyone: Pikachu, Rowlet, Rotom Dex, and Rockruff. You guys can all meet it, okay? On days like these, Ash felt like there was nothing he couldn't do. Of course, things did not always go as planned. The very next morning, he found himself facing a new challenge. Ash had gone to the market with Pikachu, Rockruff, and Rotom Dex. As usual, he had bought too much stuff and was having a hard time carrying it all. As he juggled the bags, a donut tumbled out and rolled over to the shop's owner. "Alola, young man," she said. "Out on errands?" Ash knew her. She was friends with Litten. "Yes," he replied with a smile. "This is yours," she said, holding out the donut. Ash reached over to take it. Out of nowhere, Litten sprang up and snatched the donut away. It was just like old times. Litten was up to its usual tricks. "Litten! How are you?" Ash was not upset that Litten stole the food. In fact, he was happy to see the pesky little Pokemon again. Litten, however, did not seem as pleased to see Ash again. Instead of mewing a hello, it dashed off without a sound. Ash and the others took off, too, hoping to track down the Pokemon. Litten was as swift as always. It bounded through a crowd in the town square and went down cobblestone alleys. Ash and his team would not give up. But as they came to a bridge, Litten was nowhere to be seen. "What? Where?" Ash gasped, trying to catch his breath. "Pika! Pika! Pika!" Pikachu was pointing over the side of the bridge. "What is it, Pikachu?" Ash asked, looking down. He saw a flight of steps leading to a lower level. There was a stone walkway that went along the side of the canal. "Pika! Pika!" Pikachu replied, pointing. That's when Ash noticed Litten leaping down the last steps. "Look at that!" "So that's where Litten went," Ash declared. "I can see Stoutland as well," Rotom Dex BrimQ announced. Ash was not surprised to see that Litten and the much older Stoutland were still sticking together. The two Pokemon were pretty much inseparable. Litten immediately set the donut on the sofa where Stoutland was resting. Stoutland gobbled it up gratefully. As soon as Stoutland was done, Litten trotted towards an old stump on the walkway. The Pokemon took a battle stance and placed its forelegs evenly. Litten leaned forward with its tail in the air. It was ready for a practice battle. Before Litten could start its attack, Stoutland interrupted it. While still stretched out on the sofa, Stoutland arched its back. A bright red flame appeared now along its spine. Then it grunted and sprang upward. "I've seen that move before," Ash exclaimed. "It's using Fire Fang," Rotom Dex announced, sounding just as thrilled as Ash. As Stoutland soared through the air, orange fire appeared to fill its mouth. Stoutland landed on the walkway and clenched the stump in its teeth. Brilliant orange flames roared from its mouth. With a blast of smoke, the stump was gone. Stoutland very slowly made its way back to the sofa. Exhausted, it sighed and collapsed on the cushions. Litten went back to its place on the walkway. This time, it took its battle position in front of a giant tree. "Stoutland, Stoutland grumbled, giving the younger Pokemon advice. Litten took its stance and pounced. Fire burst from Litten's mouth, just as it had from Stoutland's. A red glow surrounded Litten. As the Pokemon came in for a landing, it latched its fangs on the tree. But nothing else happened. The flames died down, and Litten landed splat on the walkway. Chapter 5. Team Rocket. After watching Stoutland complete a Fire Fong attack and Litten try but not quite succeed, Ash and his team hurried down the stairs to the canal below. Ash wanted to check on the two Pokemon before Litten had a chance to rush off again. "Hey, Stoutland," Ash said as he approached the elderly Pokemon. "How are you?" Stoutland gave Ash a long look, and Litten grumbled. Litten seemed surprised that Ash and the others had found them. But Ash and Litten had a history. Litten should have known that Ash wouldn't give up that easily. He was genuinely concerned about the Fire Cat Pokemon. "So, Litten," Ash began, "I guess you're practicing Fire Fong, are you?" But a loud series of coughs from Stoutland drew Ash's attention back to the big-hearted Pokemon. "Stoutland?" Ash asked. "Are you all right?" Pikachu and Rockruff looked concerned. Stoutland, Stout. It was clear that Stoutland did not want anyone to worry. It wanted to be as independent as Litten. Maybe that's why the two got along so well. "Oh, yeah," Ash said, searching through one of his bags. "I just bought some berries. See? How about we split them?" Before Ash could find the berries, Litten zapped him with an ember move. "Yee ouch!" Ash cried, his face burning with Litten's surprise attack. Ash rushed over to dunk his face in the water of the canal. Stoutland scolded its young friend. After all, Ash was just trying to be nice. Ash looked up from where he was bent over the canal. Water was streaming down his face. "Litten hasn't changed a bit, huh?" Litten did not look sorry. It looked like it was more determined than ever to master its new, more difficult move, Fire Fong. Ash and the others agreed it was time to call it a day, so they headed back to Professor Kukui's. There, they talked about their meeting with Stoutland and Litten while they put away the food from the market. Professor Kukui was fascinated by the special relationship between Stoutland and Litten. Rotom Dex shared a video that it had recorded. The video showed the two Pokemon working on their Fire Fong technique. "That is rare," Ash's teacher declared. "You almost never see Pokemon of two different types practicing moves together." He leaned closer to Rotom Dex's screen. "See that? Their backs are both rounded. This is what they do to build up their energy." "Yeah," responded Ash. "Come to think of it, they did that a lot." Pikachu agreed with Ash. "That Stoutland is taking awfully good care of that Litten, all right," Professor Kukui said. Ash agreed with the professor, but he also believed that Litten was taking good care of Stoutland. The next day, Ash and Pikachu were walking home from the Pokemon school. As usual, Rotom Dex hovered next to them. "I think we should go back and see Litten again soon," said Ash. "We can take some berries." Pikachu thought it was a great idea, yet Rotom Dex looked wary. Would Litten and Stoutland be happy to see Ash and his crew? Before there was any time to think about it, Team Rocket, Ash's longtime enemies, stepped right into their path. "What do you want?" Ash asked, putting his hands on his hips. Jessie flipped her long, pink hair. "Prepare for trouble," she announced. "You're such a twerp bore." "And then make it double," James chimed in. I couldn't agree more. Team Rocket loved making a dramatic low entrance. Team Rocket, Jessie and James declared, "Let's fight." That's right, cried Meowth, their Pokemon partner. Wobbuffet! Another of Team Rocket's Pokemon, Wobbuffet, always agreed with Jessie, James, and Meowth. Suddenly, a fireball surrounded Team Rocket. They yelped in surprise and Litten appeared. It bounded up to Ash and the others. Pika, Pika? Pikachu was instantly worried. Litten stopped at Ash's feet and called out to him, its yellow eyes big with concern. It doesn't sound good, Ash admitted. Stop! Jessie cried, annoyed. Interrupting is rude. James added. That's the grub grabber, Meowth realized, recognizing Litten. It had stolen Team Rocket's food in the past. Ash had no time for Team Rocket's silly threats. Pikachu, use Electro Ball, he directed. Pikachu jumped up and shot an Electro Ball at Team Rocket. Then it raced off with Ash and the others. They needed to see why. Litten was so worried. Team Rocket was offended. They had hoped for a good, fun fight. Let's retreat and regroup, James suggested. Meowth, come along, Jessie called. But Meowth wasn't thinking about the fight. He had something else on his mind. No, thanks, Meowth replied. I'm going to deal with this. Chapter 6. Help for Stoutland. Stoutland. Ash called as soon as he spotted Stoutland. It was sprawled out on the walkway under the bridge of the canal and something was not right. It was clear the big-hearted Pokemon was in distress. It's having trouble breathing, Rotom Dex observed. This is what you were so worried about, right? Ash confirmed with Litten. R.A.R.O. Litten looked Ash right in the eye. Don't worry. We'll get Stoutland to a Pokemon Center right away. Ash sounded very sure of himself as he bent down to lift Stoutland onto his back. You're going to carry it? Rotom Dex asked. What else can I do? Ash replied, grunting under the Pokemon's weight. Stoutland's not heavy. Ash hunched forward, draping Stoutland's enormous front paws over his shoulders. Pika, Pika, Pikachu put in. But it's still big, Ash admitted. He was determined not to let Litten down. Don't worry, Litten, he said, moving towards the stairs. Stoutland will be better in no time. The group was so concerned that they did not even realize they had passed Meowth as they left the canal walkway. The Scratch Cat Pokemon watched them go. Then he followed them. Ash kept his promise to Litten. Soon they'd reached a Pokemon Center. The workers there helped Stoutland into a room right away. They used special machines to check on the Pokemon's heart and breathing. Litten was not permitted to go into the room with Stoutland during Nurse Joy's exam. The Fire Cat Pokemon watched everything through a large window. Ash, Pikachu and Rotom Dex waited right by Litten's side. As soon as the doors opened and Nurse Joy came out to speak to Ash, Litten slipped inside. It jumped up on the exam table and began licking its friend's face. Hi, Nurse Joy, Ash said. Is Stoutland going to be all right? Nurse Joy paused. Stoutland isn't hurt and it doesn't have any serious illnesses, she tried to explain. It's just... Nurse Joy paused again, searching for the right words. Well, Stoutland is... Ash realized what Nurse Joy was trying to say. Ash had known that Stoutland was much older than Litten, but he wasn't sure exactly how old Stoutland was. Do you think Litten knows? He asked Nurse Joy. I think Litten can sense the truth, she responded, looking back into the exam. 5. room at the two Pokemon. Ash took a deep breath. He wondered what it would mean for Litten. Ash wondered if he could do anything for its friend. A little while later, Ash called Professor Kukui to ask permission to stay at the Pokemon Center overnight. That way, he could watch over Stoutland and Litten. I agree, Professor Kukui said. You should stay with Stoutland tonight. Thank you, Professor, Ash replied with relief. It's obvious Litten thinks you're a human it can trust, Professor Kukui added. He sounded proud of his student. Otherwise, it never would have come to you for help like that. Do what you can. Right, Ash answered. After he hung up, Ash hurried to the market. Litten and Stoutland would need food for dinner. He decided that he, Rotom Dex and Pikachu would buy the most delicious-looking berries they could find. That might help Stoutland and Litten feel better. As soon as Ash and his Pokemon returned, they headed for Stoutland's exam room. Check out the berries I brought for you too, he announced as he opened the door. But the exam room was empty. Stoutland and Litten were gone. Oh no, it can't be. Rotom Dex cried. Considering Stoutland's condition, they couldn't have gone far. I know where they went, Ash said, OV dropping his bag and rushing for the door. Let's go! Pika! Pikachu agreed. The three friends rushed out and headed down a narrow street. At once, a dark figure appeared in front of them. They skidded to a stop. It's Meowth, Ash said. The Pokemon stood his ground, squinting at them. Hey, what do you want? Ash asked. He didn't have time for a one-on-one battle with Meowth. I've got a bone to pick with the two of you, Meowth replied. Litten's the kind of Pokemon that never gives up. So you twerps better make sure you never give up on Litten, got it? What are you talking about? Ash asked. I'm done, Meowth declared. Don't forget it. Then he dashed off without another word. Man, that was weird, Ash said. Pikachu and Rotom Dex agreed. But they were glad to hear Meowth was looking out for Litten, too. They vowed to stay true to the Fire Cat Pokemon. They would not give up on Litten. Chapter 7. Catch a Litten. Ash and his friends were not going to give up on Litten, or Stoutland. Still, Ash decided to let the two Pokemon have some time alone. Ash had taken Stoutland to the Pokemon Center. He had done all he could do to help. For now, Ash and the others went back to Professor Kukui's house. The next day was cloudy. Ash, Professor Kukui and their Pokemon friends headed towards the canal. They were going to check on Litten and Stoutland. By the time they arrived, it was raining. Litten! Ash called as soon as he saw Litten. It was sitting in the rain, crying. And it was all alone. Professor, where's Stoutland? Rotom Dex asked. I'm sorry, the professor responded sadly. Litten walked back under the bridge and jumped up on the sofa it had shared with Stoutland. It wouldn't even look at Ash and the others. Litten, Ash said, but Litten ignored him. It was clear the Pokemon wanted to be left alone. Ash wasn't sure what to do. When it stopped raining, he decided to visit Litten's friend in the market. The shop lady gave Ash a lovely bag of berries. Please take these to our friend, she said. I sure will. I hope these will cheer Litten up, Ash replied. He went to find Litten right away. Bet you're hungry. It's from the lady. In the shop. She said you can come anytime, Ash told Litten. Pikachu confirmed. Most of all, Ash, Pikachu and the others have wanted Litten to know it could come to them. They wanted Litten to know that they cared. It rained a lot over the next few days. Ash thought about Litten all the time, during classes at the Pokemon school, during long walks in the rain, at dinner. Litten had another visitor during those long, sad days, an unexpected visitor, Meowth. You can talk to me anytime, you know, Meowth told Litten. See, sometimes talking about things can really help, But even Meowth could not get Litten to talk. Ash was worried about the stubborn young Pokemon. It hadn't eaten in days. Ash decided that he could be stubborn, too. He came up with a plan. Litten? Ash said the next time he went to visit. We're going to hang out here until you decide to eat. Pikachu agreed. It could be very stubborn, too. Professor Kukui said it was all right, so you're stuck with us, Ash explained. Then he sat down and offered Litten a berry. Meowth had been hiding in the shadows. When he heard Ash's plan, he was impressed. Crazy twerp, Meowth murmured. Ash and his crew stayed the whole day and they stayed the whole night. The next morning, the rain had stopped. When Litten woke up, it heard something rustle nearby. When it went to see what it was, Litten noticed an amazing rainbow reaching across the sky. The colors were and bright. Then, just behind the rainbow, a cloud seemed to change shape. When Litten looked closely, it could see the face of Stoutland in the cloud. Stoutland seemed to be looking down at Litten with a kind, reassuring expression. Ash and Pikachu came over to see what Litten was up to. Something changed for Litten in that moment. It took one last look at the cloud before it changed shape again. Then, the Firecat Pokemon ran to the bag of fruit that Ash had brought. It grabbed a berry, carried it over, and placed it in front of Ash. For me? Ash questioned. I think you should eat first. He pushed the fruit in front of Litten. Raw, Litten grunted as it pushed the berry back in front of Ash. No, really, Ash insisted, shoving the berry again. Raw, Litten was as stubborn as always and it wanted Ash to eat the berry. Ash placed the berry back in front of Litten. Back and forth. Back and forth. Back and forth. Pikachu! Pikachu fell backwards, nearly fainting with frustration. Why wouldn't either Ash or Litten give in? Both Ash and Litten looked at Pikachu. And then at each other. Then they laughed. Hey, Litten, Ash said, kneeling down so he was eye level with the Pokemon, do you want to join up with us? Pika! Pikachu cheered. Now this was getting exciting. I think it would be awesome if you finished up your Fire Fong training with me. Ash said hopefully. You could be part of the family. Litten looked uncertain. Then it squinted and shot an ember move right at Ash's face. What? Ash rushed over to the canal and dunked his head to put out the flames. 8 up above on the bridge, Meowth had been observing. I can dig that, he commented. First, Litten wants to battle. It wants no pity coming from a twerp. Ash stood up and wiped his face off with his sleeve. You want to battle? Ash asked Litten. What do you say? Pikachu bounded to Ash's side. Litten took battle position. Okay, but get ready for us, Ash warned. Pikachu, use Thunderbolt. Pikachu lashed a Thunderbolt right at Litten, followed by Quick Attack. Litten fought back with Ember. The two Pokemon battled evenly, swapping attacks back and forth. Now quick attack! Ash called and Pikachu prepared its move. Nod. Litten is about to attack. Rotom Dex said, but Ash directed Pikachu to counter with Iron Tail. The move's force slammed Litten against the wall. All right, use quick attack, ordered Ash. Electro Ball! Pikachu and Litten clashed in a smoky K-cloud and landed facing each other. The two were obviously well matched. So, you with us? Ash asked their opponent. Yeah. A sly smile crossed Litten's face. Then, go Pokeball! Ash yelled, holding the ball high in the air. I just caught a Litten. I know it's for the best, Litten, Meowth sighed from where he had been watching on the bridge. From now on, you're the enemy. So watch your twerpish back. Litten, come on out. Ash called and the feisty black and red Pokemon reappeared. I'm glad you're coming along for the ride. Rah-rah, Litten seemed happy, too. Now, how about we all eat together? Ash suggested. That was an idea the whole crew could agree on. Ash, Litten, Pikachu, Rotom Dex, Rowlet, and Rockruff all headed back to Professor Kukui's house. Together. Chapter 8. At the Seasides. Okay, give it all you've got. Ready? Let's go! Ash was cheering on Litten. They were on the beach and the newest member of Ash's team was practicing its fire-type moves, especially Fire Fang. Fire Fang was the attack that Litten had been working on with Stoutland for so long. Rowlet, Rockruff, and Pikachu were all watching and rooting for Litten, too. Litten's temperature is rising fast. Rotom Dex reported. Get ready to take whatever Litten dishes Raho out, Kiawe advised Turtonator. Of all Ash's friends from the Pokemon school, Kiawe was definitely the fire-type expert. He'd agreed to help Ash train Litten. You're doing great, Ash told the newest Pokemon on his team. Go! Use Fire Fang. Litten pounced. It soared through the air, its entire body glowing a bright orange. Fire sprouted from its mouth. But just as it reached Turtonator's tail, the fire went out. Litten chomped down, but its jaws did not have any effect. Rowlet and Rockruff ran forward to make Litten feel better. You almost got it, you know, Ash said, kneeling down. Kiawe and the gang can help you make all your moves great. All things fire-type, leave it to me, Kiawe called. Turtonator and Charizard agreed. Okay, let's try that again. Ash said. Turtonator, use Flamethrower. Kiawe called out. You need to breathe deeply, just like Turtonator does, Rotom directed. Do that, and your internal firepower will get stronger and stronger. Okay, Litten, why don't you give it a try? Ash said. Litten arched its spine and a spine of fire rose out of its back. Now, attack! Ash yelled. Litten sprang forward, gaining speed and power, but then it tripped on a piece of rom litter on the beach. Pretty good. You'll get it next time, Ash promised. Then Rockruff's joyful barks and Pikachu's happy coo distracted him. What are they up to? Ash asked. I think they're playing, Rotom Dex responded, watching the two Pokemon. Follow the handle of a shovel as it moved through the sand. Wait a sec. That shovel. Kiawe said thoughtfully. It's a Sandygast. A Sandygast? Ash questioned. At that moment, the sand under the shovel began to rise. It grew into what looked like a sand ghost, with the shovel as its hat. Lytton hissed. "If you'll allow me." Rotom Dex began. Sandy gasped. The sand heat Pokemon. A ghost and ground type. Sandygast can control people or Pokemon if they touch its shovel. Control? Ash repeated. That's right, Kiawe confirmed. Watch out, it's the most dangerous Pokemon on the beach. My grandfather was constantly warning me when I was little. He'd say, be careful around any shovel that looks like it's stuck in the sand at the beach. Something terrible could happen if you touch it. But I was too curious and touched it once. Apparently, I was gathering up sand until the next morning in a complete daze. But it's just sand. Ash responded, uncertain what to make of Kiawe's warning. Rockruff, rough. Rockruff, Sandygast made Rockruff nervous. Look out! Kiawe called as Sandygast rose up and faced Rockruff. Rockruff. Use Rock Throw. Ash directed. Rockruff aimed and sent a blast of Rock Throw at Sandygast. The move knocked the shovel right off its head and into the ocean. It's really mad. Ash cried as Sandygast growled and grew even taller. It shot shadow balls from its gaping mouth. Probably because it lost its shovel. Kiawe pointed out. But it got knocked into the ocean, right? Ash said. Then we have to go look for it. Kiawe insisted. Without that shovel, they would not be able to set things right. Wait, Kiawe. I think the shovel can be replaced with something else, Rotom Dex suggested. But even if that's true, the shovel's what it wants, Ash said. Then he paused. I've got an idea. Ash reached over and took the floating Rotom Dex in his hands. What? No. What are you doing? Rotom Dex shouted. Ash. Are you serious? Kiawe asked. Just be a shovel for a little bit, Ash said to Rotom Dex. A shovel? You're kidding. Rotom Dex begged Ash to stop. Relax. It'll just be for a little while, Ash insisted as he approached the sand heat Pokemon. Wait! Whoa, WHOA. Rotom Dex screeched as Ash turned him upside down and inserted him into the sandy top of the Sandygast. This is so embarrassing, Rotom Dex mumbled. That's gonna work perfectly, Ash said, satisfied with his idea. But then Sandygast started to scowl and growl. Sandygast. Chapter 9. Trapped in Sandygast. What's going on? Asked Rotom Dex as the unhappy Sandygast began to heave and grow. It was evolving. It looks different now, Ash commented. The heap of sand had turned into something that looked like a sandcastle. A much larger sandcastle. Hey, let me go, yelled Rotom Dex. Everyone, back off. Kiawe directed, trying to keep them safe. The Pokemon shivered and quaked, and then it grew even bigger, larger than a house. Ash! Kiawe cried over the wind. Rotom! Ash called out. That's enough. Get away! Rotom Dex tried to pull itself out, but it couldn't move. I'm stuck. You're what? Ash yelled. Ash, look out! Kiawe warned. Ash was far too close to Sandygast. Suddenly, the outraged Pokemon folded over and buried Ash. Ash! Kiawe called. Pika, Pika? Pikachu was worried. When the sand settled, the sand castle was massive and Ash was inside. You okay? Kiawe checked. I'm fine. Ash yelled from a window high up in the sand castle. Is this a Pokemon? Or is it something else? It's the evolved form of Sandygast, Ol Palos Sand. Rotom Dex explained. It was W still stuck into the top of the now enormous Pokemon. The Sand Castle Pokemon. A ghost and ground-type Pokemon. It is said the shovel on Palossand's head functions as a radar. So I'm inside Palossand's body? Ash asked. As he spoke, he lost his footing and slid all the way down to a lower level. What's up with this thing? He wondered, looking around. He ran up towards the window again and grabbed on. Pikachu didn't like Palos Sand one bit. It started to zap the Pokemon's oversized body. Stop it, Pikachu! Ash demanded, sliding back down again. If you keep that up, I'll get zapped, too, and then I won't be able to move. Frustrated, Pikachu stopped its attack. Ash, are you having trouble getting out of there? Kiawe called. I keep slipping back down because of the sand. Ash explained. We've got to find that shovel, and fast. Of course, Kiawe murmured. Though the shovel's gone because of what you did. Ash and Kiawe's other classmates had hurried down the beach to see what was going on. What's that? Lana asked with wonder and worry. Arrrrrrrr! At that moment, Rockruff raced forwards and started barking at Palos Sand. Rockruff! That's dangerous! Rotom Dex warned. Litten ran up and pushed Rockruff out of the way. Just then, Palos Sand bent forward and covered Litten. When the huge Pokemon stood up again, Litten had disappeared. Litten! Ash yelled. Suddenly, Litten appeared in the same room as its trainer. The Pokemon was in a heap on the sandy floor and something wasn't right. Litten was glowing green. Lou or Litten? Ash ran to its side. Outside, on the Palossand's head, something similar was happening to Rotom Dex. Hey! I feel strange. Kiawe, is that a Pokemon? Mallow asked as she joined the others. Kiawe filled them all in on what had happened. Ash, can you hear me? Mallow asked. Or guys, something's wrong with Litten. Ash told his friends. Ash, something's wrong with Rotom Dex, too. Kiawe informed him. At the top of Palos Sand, Rotom was glowing a bright lime green. Finally. Somebody help me. Help! Rotom squealed. Its voice was high and shaky. I feel so strange. I read about this once, Lily explained. Palos Sand is most likely absorbing as much of Rotom's and Litten's energy as it can in order to maintain its massive size. Palos Sand's so big, it can even swallow a house. Kiawe observed. But we can't let it escape until we can help our friends. Water washes sand away, Lana said hopefully. Poplio, use Bubble Beam. At first, the attack seemed to be working, but then Palos Sand seemed to be fighting it off. Please stop that, Rotom called out. Water-type moves will make Palos Sand even stronger. This is serious, Mallow admitted. Palos Sand's looking for the shovel that should be on its head. Kiawe pointed out. Then he told everyone about how the Pokemon's special shovel ended up in the ocean. We can't search the whole ocean, Sophocles pointed out. Hold on, Lana said. Poplio can find it. But, Kiawe advised, if it touches the shovel, Palos Sand will control it. Then Poplio will be lost. But Poplio can make a balloon, Lana pointed out. Of course! Kiawe cried. That's it! Poplio can wrap the shovel in a balloon. Kiawe was relieved that they finally had a good plan. Now it was time to get to work. Chapter 10. Rescue Mission. As Poplio prepared to enter the ocean, Pikachu trotted forward. As oilog Pika, Pikachu. It wanted to help, and Poplio thought that was a great idea. Boog Poplio nodded and started to blow a big balloon around the mouse Pokemon. Then the two headed for the water. Good luck, the classmates all cheered. They're off on a shovel search. Lana called out. Great, buddy. I know you'll find that shovel, Ash yelled from inside Palos Sand. He turned to Litten. You've got to hold on. On the beach below, everyone was trying to figure out how to hold off Palos Sand. If water-type moves aren't effective, Kiawe thought aloud. Then maybe snowy ice-type moves will be, Lily suggested. Lily was still new to battling with Snowy. The Alolan Vulpix had only hatched very recently, but Snowy was up to the challenge. We'll freeze Palos Sand using powder snow to stop it in its tracks, she said. The friends just hoped it would keep Palos Sand from growing more powerful. They didn't know how long it would take for Poplio and Pikachu to locate the shovel. All right, Kiawe announced. We'll attract its attention. Then Snowy can use powder snow unnoticed. The only concern was that Ash, Litten, and Rotom would get hit with powder snow, too. Don't worry about us, Ash said. Give it everything you've got. Now, Snowy, let's go, said Lily. She led Snowy, Lana, Mallow, Sophocles and their partners to the other side of the beach. They would attack Palos Sand from the back. At the same time, Kiawe would command Charizard, Turtonator, Rockruff and Rowlet to blast Palos Sand from the front. Sophocles and I are going to back up Snowy all the way, Mallow declared. Togedemaru and Steenie agreed. Count on us, Sophocles cried. As soon as they were in position, Lily gave Snowy the go-ahead. It's time, Snowy, she directed. You can do it. Inside Palos Sand, Ash reassured Litten. We'll be out of here soon. And you'll be feeling much better in no time. Ash tucked Litten inside his shirt to help keep the dew. Fire Cat Pokemon warm. The teams continued with their two-sided battle. Snowy was working especially hard. It aimed blow after blow of powder snow. It's too much for Snowy, Lily worried. That's why we're going to help out, VSG Mallow said. She grabbed a giant palm leaf and started fanning behind Snowy, sending more waves of cold air at Palos Sand. When that seemed to be working, Lana and Sophocles joined in with leaves of their own. Steenie even waved with its long ears and Lily waved with her wide-brimmed hat. That's great! Keep it up! Mallow called. And 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. Meanwhile, Poplio and Pikachu were still searching for the missing shovel. It was hard to find on the colorful ocean floor. It looks like Palos Sand's finally starting to slow down, Lily announced. So it's working, Sophocles said, fanning even harder. Not much longer, Snowy, Lily called. After a few more blasts, Palos sand was completely frozen. All the classmates cheered and thanked their Pokémon partners. "Oh, Snowy," Lily whispered as she cuddled her Pokémon. "Thank you." The next step was to rescue Ash, Litten, and Rotom Dex. Rowlett immediately took off to alert Ash that it was safe to try to make his escape. "Rowlett, yes," Ash said, cradling Litten in his arms. "Let's go." Ash ran as hard as he could up the frozen slope of Palisand's insides. He made it to the window, but he couldn't get out of the frozen frame. He hit his head and slipped all the way back down. Litten was no longer glowing green like a lime. Instead, it was glowing red like a flame. Litten was getting ready for an attack. With a giant leap, Litten soared through the air. Fire burst from its mouth as it struck the ice on the window and destroyed it. "Litten! You did it! You used Fire Fong!" Ash celebrated. Litten beamed with success as Ash raced up to the window so Kiawe's Charizard could fly over and pick them up. "Hey, you guys!" Ash called out. His classmates were all relieved to see him and Litten safe. Once he was securely on the flame Pokémon's back, Ash asked Charizard to swing by so they could rescue Rotom Dex. "Ash, be careful," Mallow warned from below. Ash and Litten jumped off Charizard's back. "Great job hanging in there, Rotom," Ash said. "Litten, use Ember to melt the ice Rotom stuck in," he directed. But before Litten could focus its attack, Palos sand woke up and started to quake underneath them. The Sand Castle Pokémon was as angry as ever. "Where's that shovel?" Kiawe wondered, looking out at the ocean. "There it is!" Lana called out. In the distance, a bubble burst out of the water with a tiny toy shovel inside. Next, Pikachu appeared in a separate bubble. And last, Poplio popped out of the water. "Awesome, Pikachu! You found it!" Ash yelled as he tried to free Rotom. Together, the Pokémon batted the shovel bubble toward Palos sand. Poplio bobbed it in the air with its nose. Pikachu hit it with its tail. Rockruff, Steenie, Togedemaru and Rowlett all took turns tossing the bubble up high. At last, when the shovel bubble was directly overhead, Litten used Ember, popping the bubble so it fell straight down on Palisand's head. At the exact same moment, Ash tugged on Rotom with all his might. "You're free!" Ash cried. But he lost his balance and started to tumble. "Charizard!" Kiawe yelled. With a mighty swoop, the flame Pokémon caught Ash, Litten, and Rotom in midair. As soon as the shovel fell into place on Palisand's head, the mighty Sand Castle Pokémon shrunk back down to Sandygast and then to just a tiny pile of sand with a shovel handle sticking out. Once he and his Pokémon were safely on the ground, Ash looked around. "Oh, man. Sorry about that," he said. He felt so lucky that his friends had teamed up to save him. They had all taken part and contributed. Even Snowy and Lily, the newest partners, had been amazing. And Litten had mastered Fire Fong. Ash could hardly believe how much he had learned from his classmates at the Pokémon school. What would the next step of his Alolan adventure bring? The end. Find out how Ash and friends' adventures on Alola began in the Pokémon school. Read on for a sneak peek. In bed, read to Yippee. "Who?" Ash yelled. "Awesome!" Ash grinned as he gazed out at the wide, blue ocean. He felt a splash of water on his face. Melee Island, one of several islands in the Alola region, was the perfect place for a holiday. He had Pikachu, his best friend and beloved Pokemon, on his shoulder. The island's sun was warm and bright. What could be better? The answer, zipping over the waves while riding a super cool Sharpedo. Sharpedo was the famous Alola Pokemon jet ski. Instead of a machine with a motor, it was a fabulous water and dark-type Pokemon with super speed. Full throttle, Sharpedo! Ash directed. With several strong flips of its powerful tail, Sharpedo zoomed ahead. This thrilling Sharpedo ride was just one of the amazing activities Ash could enjoy. On Mele Island. The Alola region was a tropical paradise, and it had all kinds of unique Pokemon. Even though Ash and his mom were on holiday, he was still thinking about Pokemon. Ash loved nothing more than encountering new Pokemon. It was his goal to become a Pokemon master. He had traveled to many regions on his quest to compete at top Pokemon gyms, but he already knew that his time in Alola would be special. While Ash and his mom were on Mele Island, they had an important task. Professor Oak, the famous Pokemon professor who lived in Ash's hometown in the Kanto region, had asked them for a favor. Professor Oak needed them to deliver a Pokemon egg to his cousin, Samson Oak. It was a mysterious egg, and Ash knew it was a very important job. To get to Samson Oak, Ash and his mom took a taxi. But it wasn't just any taxi. My first Pokemon taxi, Ash declared from the comfortable seat of a cart pulled by a strong Tauros. This is the best ever. Ash was thrilled. Pikachu made a happy squeak, and the Tauros replied with a friendly grunt. Also along for the trip was Mr. Mime, Ash's mom's Pokemon companion. Mr. Mime, a psychic and fairy-type Pokemon, had actually won the tickets for their Big Island getaway. Here in the Alola region, we use the power of Pokemon to go anywhere and everywhere, the taxi driver explained. We refer to these Pokemon as ride Pokemon. When you travel on land, you take a land ride Pokemon. When you want to fly, you take an air ride Pokemon. On water, a water ride Pokemon. Ash found it all fascinating. He loved learning new Pokemon facts. His mom was more interested in the exotic fruit at the local market. She wanted to buy some berries, so the taxi driver pulled Tauros to a stop. As Ash got out of the cart, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. It 00 wasn't fruit. It's a Pokemon, Ash murmured, rushing over to investigate. The Pokemon was halfway underground, with its tan and orange striped head poking out. So cool! I wonder what its name is. Ash leaned down, and the Pokemon reached out and pinched his nose with its strong pincer-like jaws. As soon as the bug-type Pokemon let go, it dove underground and dug an unknown. Okay, let's catch it, Pikachu! Ash cried, holding his sore nose. In an instant, the two friends had rushed off into a nearby forest, leaving the market and Ash's mom far behind. They raced after the speedy Pokemon. However, once they were deep in the forest, the Pokemon had too many places to hide. Tall, leafy trees rose high overhead, and lush plants grew all over the forest floor. Guess we missed it, Ash said, panting. To catch his breath. Ash looked up and realized that he didn't know where he was. He thought about his mom. Where were we supposed to take that egg again? The shadows of the forest were a great place to hide. A mysterious Pokemon with large, curved wings floated high in the branches, watching Ash and Pikachu. It stayed out of sight. Just then, another Pokemon appeared. It was almost twice as tall as Ash and nearly 3 times as wide. And it was very, very pink. Oh, wow, Ash said with a gasp. Pika! Pikachu chirped in agreement. The pink and gray Pokemon began to wave its large, log-like arms. Look, it's waving, exclaimed Ash. Approaching slowly. You sure are cute. The Pokemon appeared to be walking towards them with a friendly grin. Then suddenly it began to whirl around, breaking tree limbs with its gigantic paws. It let out an angry, high-pitched squeak. Move it! Ash yelled, and he and Pikachu ran with all their might. They leaped over bushes and dodged trees until they came to a small clearing. What was that thing? Ash wondered out loud. The supersized Pokemon had seemed so happy to see them at first. Luckily, Ash didn't worry about it for long. It was only seconds before another Pokemon distracted him. He noticed a Charizard flying high above with a person on its back. That must be an air ride Pokemon, Ash said. That's awesome. Pikachu, let's follow it. Ash and Pikachu chased after the fire and flying-type Pokemon. They soon emerged from the trees. Ash stopped and took in the sight. Before him was a large field with a track around it. There were several grand buildings with thatched roofs and outdoor walkways. The grounds also included a lake and lots of tall palm trees. It was beautiful. And the best part? There were Pokemon everywhere. Ash stepped forwards in awe. He didn't look before he crossed the track, and 3 racing Tauros came barreling full steam ahead, nearly trampling him. A girl with long blonde hair hurried towards him. Are you okay? She asked, worried. Pikachu rushed forward to check on him, too. Ash laughed it off as he stood up. Actually, I'm good at dealing with Tauros. See, I've caught some. Soon, all the Tauros and their riders joined them, too. They all looked concerned. What is this place? Ash asked. It's the Pokemon School, said a girl named Mallow. The Pokemon School, Ash repeated slowly. Wow. Read the Pokemon School to find out what happens next.